Shop and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. A good morning to each and every single one of you out there where sports truly meets that thing called life. We are inside of the Cafe Kubal studios this morning. Cafe Kubal with locations all throughout central and upstate New York. Make sure you make your way out to Cafe Kubal today by going to 3501 James Street as well as 401 South Salina Street, 208 North Townsend Street, where you also find Cafe Kubal Co-works right above the cafe on 208 North Townsend Street. You can rent out space for your business. You can rent out some office space so that you can go and have a place away from home with so many people working from home the last year and a half. Be nice to have a little office there for you. There's also meeting room tables and different areas for you to hold court, and of course you can go up to their podcasting headquarters and get some help with your video and audio editing up there as well. So make sure you hop out there to 208 North Townsend Street and get something to drink, and at the same time improve your business and help yourself out a little bit. So a lot of great stuff there, as well as inside of Galisanos Children's Hospital, where you'll also find Cafe Kubal, and you'll find them out in Manlius on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, in their newest location, where we spent the beginning of this week, and actually twice in 3 days. We were there this past Saturday for their grand opening, and we were there on Monday as well with Mary Grimes, the new Lemoyne women's basketball head coach, on Saturday, and the new director of athletics at Lemoyne College, Bob Beretta, with him this past Monday, starting off the week at Cafe Kubal at Sweetheart Corners on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse, their first ever drive-through location. So we got to have some fun out there, and definitely appreciate everybody that came out and everybody that watched and listened and has gone back to it on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt. So proud thanks for all of that. Appreciate it so very much. We apologize for being back here a little bit, doing some things in the studio to get ready for Charley Loeb coming on the broadcast in hour number 2. So we appreciate your patience, and, thank you so much for that. So with that being stated, let's bring in the man of this hour inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, bringing you what's poppin'. And poppin' first on Thursdays, is Papa Joe. And then here in hour number 2, we're going to have a very, very exciting conversation with some B-roll here. And I want to say on this video 1,000 times so that they don't shut it off. Hi, Facebook. Hi, YouTube. Hi, Twitter. Hi, everybody. This is when I show the videos of the Syracuse game against Rutgers. It's owned by the ACC network, the ACC, Syracuse, Rutgers, and their affiliates, as well as the Big Ten. We do not have ownership of the video. So I'm telling you that because we're using the video for context, like everybody does, but I have to say this so that you know when you're watching the video and you flag it for copyright that we're just using it to tell a story, and we're not saying that we own it. Much love and respect. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and everybody. With that being said, Charley Loeb, former Syracuse quarterback, and I are going to be assessing and analyzing the play of Tommy DeVito and Garrett Shrader. And Charley's got some inside info on Garrett Shrader's training, which I'm really excited to share with everybody. So a lot of cool stuff coming up. Very much looking forward to this. Hour number 2 starting at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Charley and I will be breaking down the quarterbacks of Syracuse, which I feel like is a huge show for all Syracuse fans to pay attention to, so make sure you do that. And before that happens, Papa Joe is with me to talk about a lot of different things. NFL Week 1, College Football Week 2, as well as Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer's debut being a loss, upcoming Bama versus Florida, Syracuse, our College Week 3 picks, our NFL Week 2 picks, MLB rankings, as well as, and probably most importantly, famous Jameis, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers in TIAA Bank Field. I think Jameis Winston's the first one to throw 5 touchdowns and no interceptions in Jacksonville Stadium since probably Mark Brunell. So let's bring in PJ and shout out his man Jameis first. Papa Joe, how we doing?
My man Jameis, look at this. Yeah, everything's all right. We're settling down now after our death in our family. So I miss my wife, but she'll be back shortly. And meanwhile, we have a lot to talk about in a short time.
We do, and we're going to hop right into it. So I want to start out with NFL Week 1. What notes from watching I know you sit and watch the games and enjoy those on a Sunday. What were your biggest takeaways if you want to, start with Jacksonville or wherever you'd like to start, what you saw from Week 1?
Well, obviously, we got to start with Jacksonville. And, a lot of people, the pundits, are starting to beat this kid up already and being Trevor Lawrence. And look, he's a rookie. He looks good. He's nothing wrong with him. He's got all the talent in the world. But, 7 penalties and 4 of them holding and 6 drop passes didn't look good. He threw the ball 51 times, way, way, way too much for Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer wants to run the ball. We knew that. That's why he got Travis at the end. Unfortunately, he's hurt. And Little Robinson's going to try to carry as much as he can. So I think he's going to have to change his game plan a little bit and see what they can do against Denver. Denver, you got another mobile quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, who is an above-average quarterback and has been for a while. The best thing he ever did was spend 2 years behind Drew Brees in New Orleans. That game I'm looking forward to seeing. Obviously, the game with Green Bay and New Orleans was a major disappointment to me. It was awful. I don't know where Rodgers or where the team was, but they were lost. How can they be lost? I mean, he looked lost. I mean, he didn't have it. Nothing fired. And Jameis, to his credit, did a good job. He threw 5 touchdown passes, which is good. But if you notice the stats, and this is where Sean Payton really looks at things, he only threw the ball down the field once and completed a pass. Everything else was a little dump off here and a little cut here, which is why he only got 178 yards. You take away the 41 yards and then one pass, and he's got 130-something yards. But around the goal line, he did exactly what Sean Payton wanted him to do. Stand tall in the pocket, move a little bit. He's so tall that he could look over things, and he fit the ball in some good places for touchdowns. He impressed me, but let's face it, he is an average quarterback. And Sean Payton knows that if he winds up throwing the ball 40 or 50 times a game, he's in for a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, throwing 50 times, and let's go right to that. I mean, that happened. That happened in the Jacksonville game. They threw 51 times. Trevor Lawrence's first ever game as a rookie quarterback, his debut in the NFL, he threw 51 times. Thoughts on that? I mean, some people said to me, hey, Dan, he had to throw. He was behind. You know what? In the second quarter, third quarter, he does. In the fourth quarter, yeah, okay. But, I know they're down 27-7 at half, but you can still run. It's kind of like taking threes or taking twos. It's like when Syracuse is down by 9 on the basketball court, do they have to take 9,000 threes hoping that they make 3 of them? Or can they work the ball inside a little bit? That's how I feel. Okay, you're down by 20. So you know what? You have James Robinson run the damn rock. Run it a little bit and then pass it. Don't pass it on every play. Don't pass it that many times. What I'm saying is Trevor Lawrence having to throw 51 times in his first ever game. That should just not be, that should not be happening. You should not be having your quarterback, especially the only guy that should be throwing 50 some odd times, maybe Tom Brady, maybe Aaron Rodgers. I mean, these are guys that, are seasoned, and there's a very short list of people. And I'm not saying that Trevor Lawrence isn't good, and I'm not saying he's not talented. I just have an issue with your rookie quarterback in his debut, albeit in his first season at all, throwing 51 times in a game. I don't think that's a good game plan.
Oh, you're right, but so many drives stopped because of 7 penalties before halftime. 4 of them were holding calls. One of them on a wide receiver. Yeah, chalk. I couldn't believe that. And 6 drop passes. I mean, those are drive killers right there. Maybe Lawrence throws the ball a little bit too hard for these guys. A lot of these guys should have made those plays. They should have made the catches and extended the drives. I can't blame Lawrence. He looks great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be a star in this league. But you're right. Throwing 51 times. Urban was saying, listen, he looked, the Jaguars looked like they weren't firing. They didn't look like they were together. I don't understand. They didn't look like they were ready to play.
Yeah.
I don't understand that, but you can't have holding calls like that. Of course, you don't want to get your rookie quarterback sacked, but it looked bad. They just were not ready to play, and it looked good. And besides, they got behind, and then he's got to throw the ball even more. So, but he completed a lot of passes, but 31 completions. I mean, he's got all the arm and everything. Maybe he does throw the ball a little hard. Maybe he's got to put a softer touch on it. But he's another tall guy who just sort of looks down the field and not up the field like a little 6-foot quarterback. So I don't think we got to worry about Trevor Lawrence. What we got to worry about is Denver's defense against a rookie quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater for Denver is going to do his thing. He's an above-average quarterback, I said before. I think he's a super guy and a super player. I'm very glad that he's playing in spite of those horrific injuries that he had. Oh, they were terrible. I think he broke 2 kneecaps or something like that. It was terrible. It was awful. But anyway, he's a seasoned quarterback. He knows what he's doing. And Denver's defense with Von Miller is going to be a major, major player in this game. If they wind up rushing early and sacking Lawrence early in the game, you're going to be right back to throwing 50 passes a game. So you're right about the Rock. The Rock and little Robinson goes a long way. I'm really sad that Etienne is out for the year. I could just visualize those 2 guys in the backfield, and all sorts of plays just bubble up in my mind. You can use these guys for. But right now, Robinson's got to carry it, and I hope they just don't run him in the ground.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, when you look at this game, I mean, and one of the guys brought it up, Greg, who is very devout and listening and a big fan of Papa Joe. Greg saying, that Trevor Lawrence playing performance should be the least of the Jaguars' worries. I'm not happy that he threw 51 times, not because of him. I'm not sitting here. He threw 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. As a rookie quarterback, especially in your first game, I expect the multiple interceptions. I don't expect the multiple touchdowns. So I give him props for that. And like you said, 6 dropped passes, a bunch of penalties. These are things that are not his fault. And the other thing that's not his fault is the fact that this defense, which I thought coming into this season, looking at the roster, I was like, wow, for the first time in a bunch of years, maybe the first time since they went to the AFC Championship game last, they have depth. They need some help on the D-line, but they have different guys in the secondary that they can move around now. They got a bunch of linebackers. They got a bunch of hybrid guys that can play linebacker or D-end. And they come out and they play a Swiss cheese defense, and they just let everything go. They're not tackling right. They're not doing things that they need to do. They looked terrible on defense, and so I don't put any of that on Trevor Lawrence. What were your thoughts on that? Giving up 37 points to Houston. And most people going into that game thinking, okay, there's no Deshaun Watson. They had to go find a bunch of quarterbacks. Tyrod Taylor's capable, but I did not think that Tyrod was going to pick apart that defense. And at one point late in the game, he's running in the wide open field. I mean, defensively, the biggest issue that I had with Jacksonville's game, A, they should have ran the ball more. James Robinson not getting enough carries was ridiculous. B, they shouldn't be passing that much. But that's not a Trevor Lawrence problem. That's not a James Robinson problem. That's a coaching problem. The defensive side of the ball, none of those guys scared me on defense from what I saw.
You're right. Tyrod Taylor has been around the league several years. He's an average quarterback. He looked like a world beater this last week, but he's a smart guy. He's a smart quarterback. He knows what he's doing. He knows his limitations. He can run the ball, but that one play where he ran for 25 yards on it, no one even touched him. The later part of the game, that was inexcusable. They couldn't keep him in the pocket. Taylor was quick with his feet, moved laterally, back, behind. He's a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback. He's a good quarterback. And for Houston, I think that's a major accomplishment because I don't think anyone's going to talk about getting Deshaun Watson on a football team. Maybe ever again. I'm not sure he's ever going to play again. His situation is so dire that they're going to play hell just trying to keep him out of jail. But Tyrod Taylor is very efficient. He did just what Jacksonville let him do. And he completed passes. He did a good job, a really good job. I couldn't, the game was over, Daniel, at halftime. Let's face it. I mean, and they made so many mistakes in the first half. Nothing came together. And Taylor picking them apart with good passes, short passes, medium passes. They actually scored at will. And I felt bad for the kid, because the kid was already in a funk. And now he comes out 27-7 in the first half. In the second half, now they're under the gun. So, frankly, I think a lot of it is coaching. What I said before, they didn't look disciplined.
Yeah.
The holding calls and the drop passes, no concentration. Hey, when you're a wide receiver and you got someone like Lawrence throwing to you, who's a big guy, tall guys throw up and down the field high. You gotta go up and get his pass because he's so tall. Maybe he doesn't have the best touch on it yet. He'll learn that though. But those guys needed to make those plays, a lot of them. And I think we'd be talking about a different story right now if they'd have made some catches and the defensive or offensive line didn't hold so much. So I can't say it was a miserable failure. It was a failure. I think we saw the future of the franchise and Lawrence and what he can do and how he can play. And how he played in this situation where they were not they put him in some terrible situations. And maybe his inexperience cost him, which is true. But he's only a rookie. If you're a coach, you don't want a rookie to throw the ball 51 times. You want someone like Jameis who throws the ball maybe 20 times this last game, completed some short passes, but not 51 times. But completed 31 passes for 3 touchdowns. The pass he threw to Manhurst was sweet. Manhurst split the seam, was open at the 5-yard line, and just walked in. And that had to fit. That had to go through a little window, and he fit it in there. And look at the guy. The kid's going to be great. I can't wait for him to keep going. I'm going to watch him faithfully every week because I have the NFL package now, Daniel.
Yeah.
And because I had the Major League Baseball package, now I got the NFL package, so I can watch him and Green Bay play wherever they play.
That coming here from Papa Joe this morning inside of our segment every single Thursday in hour number 1. PJ joining us here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break. When we come back, plenty more to discuss. We'll head to the college football ranks, and we'll speak with Papa Joe on a bunch of different things, including, Greg just said exactly, be more like Jameis is what he wrote back. So, but we have a lot of stuff coming up, including Bama versus Florida and the Syracuse woes. What did Papa Joe see from his angle down in Florida when Syracuse beat the heck out of themselves way before Rutgers could? We'll talk about that right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to be hanging out here with you, having a fantastic morning this morning, and I hope that life is going well, and I definitely appreciate you being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Whether you're watching on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, or YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, we thank you so much, as well as listening on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT and on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage, all from inside the Cafe Kubal Studios. Papa Joe and I with a lot to talk about. PJ, we were talking about Jacksonville. Let's keep with Jacksonville. One team from the wonderful, wonderful city of Jacksonville won over the weekend, and it wasn't the Jaguars. It was the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, who for the second year in a row came to Tallahassee to face off against Florida State. And last year against Florida State, I thought they were going to maybe get them. So I circled this game a long time ago saying, Jacksonville State's going to come back here doing their thing again. Now, mind you, folks, their quarterback is a transfer from Clemson. One of their receivers is a transfer from Duke. These guys are no slouch. They transferred in from the ACC to play the ACC eventually once again here, and play them they did. And this time around, the Gamecocks took a dub, threw a touchdown pass at the end of the game. I'm asking, why are they not in prevent defense? And then even with two guys back there to tackle this wide receiver, they let him just push them and walk into the end zone. What are your thoughts on Jacksonville State defeating FSU? And what are your thoughts on the fact that they defeated them on a play where they didn't seem to have the right defense, and they didn't remember that they needed to tackle him when he was about 5 yards out?
Yeah, right. I guess Florida State forgot how to play defense on that play. What can you say about Florida State? Frankly, let's face it. In the last 2 weeks, they've lost on the last play of both games. They very well could be 2-0, and we would be sitting here talking a different story. Yeah. But they're not. They're 0-2, and that's unfortunate. The pass down the field, the wide receiver was wide open. Another wide receiver gets there to help block. It makes a cut. Some guy smashes a defensive guy with 8 yards into the end zone, and he walks in. What can you say? I mean, Florida State, I thought Mike Norvell would do a better job coaching. But I do have to state, and I'm serious about this, I mean, they lost 2 games in the last play of both games. And we would be talking a different story, but they're not. And unfortunate that they look like they weren't ready to play either. Oh, we got to play Jacksonville State. We'll just talk about cupcakes, right? They wanted to get fat on that cupcake. They ate the cupcakes instead.
Yeah, and it did. And I asked the fans to weigh in here, and I'll ask you all again to do it if you'd like, because we got a couple more days on this poll, so you can put your thoughts in. I'm actually going to share it right now. But if you're not following us on Twitter, make sure that you do that today. That's at CallDT, at CALLDT. I put up polls all the time. So if you're not following us on Twitter, make sure you jump in there now, at CallDT, CALLDT. I asked Florida State Seminole fans what their reaction was to the 20-17 last-second loss to Jacksonville State at home in Tallahassee. Your choices were shocked, angry, heartbroken, or numb. 0% of you said heartbroken. 26.7% of you said angry. 26.7% of you said shocked. 46.7%, almost half of you said numb. So, interesting choices here as we look at this. And I do want to give a shout out to, I mentioned the guys, but I want to give a shout out to them. Zarek Cooper was a backup quarterback for Clemson. That's who I brought up that transferred in. He's the one that threw the touchdown pass. And he threw it to, with 6 seconds left, threw it to Philya Johnson for a 58-yard game-winning touchdown. And Philya Johnson is from Duke. So just to make that be known here, I want to shout them out and show them some love. Jayshon Corbin played well running the ball. The offensive line opened up some holes. You know, Mackenzie Milton did some things, but ultimately the story is Zarek Cooper to Philya Johnson and, you know, a former Clemson guy, a former Duke guy beating Florida State. So, pretty cool, pretty interesting, and Evan was not happy, and I'm sure Miss Mary T wasn't either, so, you know, it's one of those... Yeah, so...
Besides Florida played another so-so game. You know, you're supposed to beat these other teams in Florida, and they're just... Florida played a great first half. They had something like six TDs or 5 TDs in their first 5 or 6 possessions. And then in the second half, they come out and they lay an egg. And that's coaching again. You know, but these kids, they start reading about themselves in the social media, and they just play a half. And all of a sudden, you know, another team's going to come, South Florida's going to come back and score some points. South Florida's not that bad. So, you know, Florida did some terrible things. But they're so talented at so many positions. And the quarterbacks, of course, both of those guys can start for any team, anywhere. It's a little bit of a quarterback controversy, but they're going to have to get their stuff ready because they're playing Alabama. And Nick Saban is a little afraid of that because he's going to face 2 quarterbacks that are identical except one's bigger than the other. Yeah. They throw the ball well, and they run extremely well. Emory Jones did not play well. He'd be the first to admit that. A couple interceptions. He still doesn't look comfortable in the pocket. I don't understand that. I mean, he's been around for 4 years, and he should do better and know better than he's doing right now. Anthony Richardson is a freak. I mean, this kid's a real freak. I mean, he's big and he's fast. Gosh, that 80-yard touchdown run, he outran defensive backs. Now, how many guys 6'4", 235 are going to outrun defensive back? Well, he did. And he pulled up a little bit lame there in the 5-yard line, but it was just a hamstring deal. But Florida's going to have to get a lot better because they're playing the big boys. And Alabama is no slouch.
And that's the thing. I mean, speaking here with Papa Joe, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Cafe Kubal Studios. Make sure you check them out. 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street, 208 North Townsend Street, all in Syracuse. In downtown Syracuse, Galisano's Children's Hospital. Out in Manlius on 343 Fayette Street, where the all roads converge in Manlius on to the parking lot, really, of Cafe Kubal. They'll lead you right there. And then the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road, the first ever drive-through at Sweetheart Corner for Cafe Kubal. So make sure you head there today and support local. PJ and I talking about a lot of different things. Bama, Florida, do you like or dislike? It's the 3rd week of college football. Is this good? I mean, is this, you know, Alabama, Florida? Is this... We just saw Oregon defeat Ohio State on the road. I've said before, I don't believe in the Big 12. You know, I know Oregon's talented, but I haven't really, they haven't wowed me in a while. But this game's caught my attention. Are you excited and happy with these games? You know, these big time games, some in conference, some out of conference. Is Alabama, Florida ripe for week 3, or should this be week 7?
Should be week 7. But if you remember right, I picked Oregon over Ohio State because of their speed. They just play faster. And I've watched him a couple years. Cristobal's got these guys. He's recruiting guys to play fast. He likes to play fast. Typical, you know, Big Ten football. Boring. You know, they're just overrated. And I bash them every week on the show. So the Big Ten, I don't think will be a factor this year. Wisconsin lost. You know, they're not standing out at all. The Florida-Alabama game certainly is huge. I mean, we're going to just see how good Florida is. They can't make mistakes, that's for sure. Emory Jones is going to start the game. I already know that. He's going to be playing the first at least 2-3 series. And his play will determine whether Anthony Richard gets in this game earlier or later.
Yeah.
If Emory Jones is playing the game right, throwing the ball well like he can, and running, which he sure can do, then Alabama is in for a tough time. I'm not sure Alabama's good as everyone says they are, but you've always mentioned that Alabama they just reload to play the next year. They just have so many good athletes that they just keep playing. So with that being said, Emory Jones is the key to this game, period. Not Bryce Young and on the other side of the ball. He's going to score. Florida's defense is going to be really under pressure. But Emory Jones has to stay up. This game could be a 38-5, 28er, or it could be a 10-7 game. I don't see that. I see both teams scoring a lot. And if we get to see Anthony Richardson in a game again, you're going to see some serious playing. So Florida has their work cut out for them. I think they're certainly not going to be a favorite, and justifiably so, because Alabama is Alabama, and I don't care who they play. I would expect that they're going to be, even though they're playing in a swamp, I would expect Alabama to probably be an 8 to 10 point favorite. I don't know what the line is because I haven't looked at it yet this morning. So Florida's under extreme duress when they play someone like Alabama. I don't care if it's in the swamp or not. When you got 100,000 people in the swamp, damn, it's loud.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I mean, there's a lot to be excited about. I mean, this Alabama-Florida game is a huge game, awesome game. I do want to get to this before we get to our picks for this week. Staying in the SEC, LSU running back coach, some of you might know this name when I say it, Kevin Falk. He played for the New England Patriots for 13 seasons, was the thorn in a lot of people's sides because he was a great guy. I mean, before I think people even knew what the heck PPR was in fantasy football, he was like a PPR guru. And Kevin Falk won 3 Super Bowls, played 13 seasons with the Patriots. He also ran for LSU and is their all-time leading rusher, and then came back to be the running backs coach. Well, he has stepped away from the team following the death of his 19-year-old daughter. And so he's not expected to be there for Sunday's game against Central Michigan. LSU head coach Ed Orgeron expressed his condolences and said the program is, quote, sick to their stomach over Kevion's death. He said, I don't expect him to be here on Saturday. I expect him to take his time and put his family first, end quote. Kevin Falk played at LSU back in the 90s, and as I said, all-time leading rusher of the team. He first rejoined LSU as the director of player development in 2018 and was elevated last year to running backs coach. LSU football put out a statement on Kevion's death, said, quote, we are heartbroken with the passing of Kevion Falk, and our thoughts and prayers are with the Falk family and all those who love Kevion. She was part of the LSU family, and we mourn the loss of a daughter, a sister, a friend, a classmate, and a colleague. We ask that all Tigers keep the Falks in their prayers and respect their privacy at this difficult time. End quote. Yet another reminder, Papa Joe, that whatever happens on the field or on the court, life is precious. You and I know that in our family of the past couple days, that family, true family, comes first. And we got to appreciate the time we have every day.
It's true. Devastating. Well, what a great player he was. God, he could do so many things. Belichick loved that guy. Loved him. Very sad. I feel for him. Speaking of LSU, Coach O is going to be under the gun here pretty soon if he didn't start playing better and winning better. I don't expect Coach O to. I know he'll last the season.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll have another season, but he's got to play better and he's got to look better. And of course, Kevin Falk was a big part of that. Running back. Imagine him being a running back coach. Boy, could you learn an awful lot from him? And I'm sure that LSU tailbacks and even wide receivers are going to learn an awful lot of football from this guy. I'm sorry for him.
Yeah, me too. And so our a moment of silence for Kevin Fox family, for Kevion's soul in heaven, and for all of their loved ones to be together at this difficult time. And as I always say when somebody passes away, that they're always with us through God, because dying you destroyed our death and rising you restored our life. So a moment of silence for this, please. And with that being said, Papa Joe here and I continuing on and moving forward here. I do want to get to a note here, PJ. And that note I want to get to is the fact that they say that Dan Mullen is part Yoda and part Darth Vader. What does that mean to you that, you know, he's part of that, and he's part Gators win, they will. So, I mean, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I had that in my notes to talk about this morning. He's a piece of work, boy. He's a very loquacious guy. I mean, that's what he wants to say, and he'll be sarcastic as hell when he's going through his tape. I mean, he'll really bash his wide receivers or running backs or linemen in front of the team. I mean, he'll ream them out. And then by the same token, he's a good guy. He's always talking people up. Just recently, I guess it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, Dan Mullen offered an 8th grader in Georgia a scholarship. His name is Julian Lewis.
Yeah.
He's already a big stud. I mean, he's 8th grade. He's probably going to play varsity ball as a 9th grader. Now, not too many coaches will be able to see that, but he's a quarterback coach. I mean, he knows the stuff. So he gives a scholarship to an 8th grader in Georgia. So he's tough to figure out sometimes. But he will express. He may not express his actions to the press as much as he does with his team. You can see him. You know, when Emory Jones intercepted the first time, he talked to him. But the second time, he was yelling at him on the sideline. And, you know, as a quarterback or anyone, you got to stay there and you got to take it because he's doing it for the good. Look, you didn't make the right read here. You didn't check down here. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. And he's going to tell you right then and there the problems you got before you get back in there for another series. So he is Darth Vader, and he's definitely Yoda. So he's a fun guy. I'm glad he's the coach of the Gators. But, boy, he better have a good game plan this week.
Yeah, he's playing Alabama. We'll get to that in actually, you know what? Let's hop into it right now. I want to get into a bunch of these games. So we're going to do our picks for that, do NFL, and then jump into baseball for a little bit. Charley Loeb coming up in about 15 minutes here on Wake Up Call to analyze and assess Tommy DeVito and Garrett Shrader, how only a quarterback can. So, former Syracuse quarterback to current Syracuse quarterback. Very excited. Going to be great. I love when Charley comes on. I just sit back and I listen, and I listen like a student. So, UCF at Louisville, PJ. This game is Friday night, September 17th. Shout out to Mordu and Cinnamon, my first two dogs. It's their birthday in heaven. So, UCF at Louisville. What do you got?
I think I like Louisville. I think they're a little bit bigger and faster. UCF is still floundering a little bit, so I like Louisville in this game.
All right, you're going with Louisville. Now, Louisville made Ole Miss in the lane train. That game was not that great. They lost by 19 in that matchup. UCF, on the other hand, doing their thing and making it happen and coming back against Boise State at home and with Gus Malzahn's first ever game getting the dub. So, you're going to go with Louisville. I'm going to go with UCF on this matchup. So we're going to go at odds here on this one, and that's a Friday night game. So make sure you're Friday night lights in it with us. It's at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. PJ, Nebraska at Oklahoma. Does Scott Frost have any shot of anything? Now, Tulane pushed Oklahoma to the brink when they were 2 in the country. Now they're 3 in the country. Does Scott Frost have any hope in this game?
No. I'll tell you what. Tulane's the real deal too. Don't worry about Tulane. Tulane's going to be a lot of teams this year. But I am so disappointed in Nebraska over the last 2 or 3 years. I thought that Scott Frost would bring his energy to the team and the recruiting, and it's proven to me that he's not a good coach. this game could get ugly. I mean, Oklahoma is Oklahoma. They love to run the ball. They love to pass the ball. They'll get 600 yards in this game. I don't think this is going to be a contest at all. It's just going to get kind of ugly, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm going with Oklahoma as well. I think hindsight 2020, Scott Frost maybe realizing leaving UCF wasn't the right thing to do.
Right.
So I didn't think it was right. I was like, dude, I understand you played at Nebraska, but bro, come on. You guys were winning. You were excited. I mean, it was great. So I understand alma maters, but future and longevity, whatever. Michigan State at Miami. What are your thoughts on this one? Miami's barely in the top 25. They're playing at noon on ABC.
Well, I like Miami only because they play a better all-around game. They're faster, and Michigan State is a Big Ten team. I told you I don't like the way they play football up there, so I like Miami.
I'm picking Miami in this game too. Miami's on ABC. They know that they're going to be on them lights. And they got the turnover chain. And somebody asked Josh Black, and I think about this stuff, what if Syracuse had a turnover chain? Would it make you want it more or whatever? And he said, he laughed and said, would be something cool. I think Miami, they play up for some of these big games. Not all of them, but I got a good feeling about Manny Diaz. He'll take care of business, and he'll get this win to keep Miami in a discussion when they're talking about positive teams here. How about this? What did I do last week, you ask? Well, I told you that Pittsburgh and my guy Pat Narduzzi were going to waltz into Tennessee of the SEC and put the spank on, and they did. They won the game 41-34. I made a bold pick to a lot of people, a ballsy pick, but I know my dues. And Pat Narduzzi went to work, and Kenny Pickett and the team that I all got to talk to coming into the season, shout out to Pittsburgh. I know Syracuse fans are going to be pissed when I say that, but let's be real. Pittsburgh has been better in the ACC, millions of light years better than Syracuse since they joined almost a decade ago. Pittsburgh gets the dub at Tennessee, 41-34. They start off the season 2-0, rocking it, girl. So they're playing Western Michigan. My guy Tim Lester, what do you think about Pittsburgh up against Western Michigan this week at home? And what do you think about Pittsburgh beating Tennessee?
Well, that was a surprise. Frankly, I thought that Tennessee was a better team than I picked them before. But Tennessee still scored 34 points. So I'm not sure Pittsburgh's defense is going to last this year, but they shouldn't have any problem with Western Michigan at all. And this could get ugly too. But maybe these kids again, they wind up reading about themselves on social media. They think they're better than they are. All of a sudden, Western Michigan scores a touchdown, and then they're back to reality. So, but the coach has got to tell these kids to stay off the damn media. Play ball. Quit listening. Quit reading about yourself. Pittsburgh's a good thing.
Yeah, they are. And you got it. What do they always say? Don't read the good news. Don't read the bad news. Don't read any of it. Just focus. So, and it's also a quote that I take in my daily life. Other people's opinions of me are none of my business. So, Auburn at Penn State, 22-10. What do you think?
I like Auburn. It's a kind of a pick'em game. But again, Penn State, I think it's a little bit overrated this year. Besides, I think their coach is being recruited by Southern Cal. That's something I read. But I like Auburn in this game.
So you're going to pick Auburn on the road up against a higher ranked team. I like it. This is how we do. So I'm excited about this. I just putting a thing out here to Greg. He said you almost had the Appalachian State pick correct, ballsy, and I said buckle up, baby. This is how we rock. My brain. This is just where I go with college football. I mean, with anything, I go with my gut, and I go with obviously you put some research in, some thought in. But, my gut is something that I trust. Auburn at Penn State, I'm not a massive fan. I mean, and I'm with you, too. I'm with you, too, PJ. I'm not necessarily wowed by Penn State because they're, in the conversation and then they find a way to lose. But, PJ's going to say that Auburn's going to go in there and take care of business. I'm going to say Penn State in this game. reluctantly, I don't want to say reluctantly, but they're playing at home, and I think they'll get it. But they do trip up at some point in the season, and usually it's against a team they're not supposed to. So I'm going to pick Auburn in this game and give them the win. North Carolina lost to Virginia Tech. They're not going back to the state of Virginia, but they are playing Virginia. And Bronco Mendenhall is doing some good things with his Virginia team. They play North Carolina in Chapel Hill. Virginia's unranked. North Carolina's 21 in the country. What happens in this one?
I like North Carolina in this game. They're going to be scary this year in the ACC. Florida State play them? I'm not sure, but they should be afraid of them. North Carolina is a good football team. Go back to Penn State for a second. Number one team in the college rankings for recruiting right now is Penn State.
Yeah.
Highly unusual. But again, Penn State and Ohio State and all these Big Ten teams, they recruit all these guys. They're high in the rankings, and then they don't play in the field. So, go figure.
Yeah, and just to let you know, Florida State beat North Carolina last year, which was not supposed to happen. and they do play Florida State again. They play them at home on October 9th this year. So, just so you know, North Carolina and FSU will rock it again and see what they can bring to the table. Before we hop into a couple NFL and then baseball, PJ, got a couple minutes left here. I want to sneak a few in. So let's sneak in, obviously, these final two. Syracuse, the Syracuse Orange are playing up again, and I mean no disrespect when I say this, folks. I know they have a lacrosse team because D1 lacrosse player Sam Tortora, my cousin, shout out, what up, Sam? She played for their lacrosse team. But did we really know that Albany had a football team? Can we be real about it for like a minute? Did you know that they had a football team? Well, they do have a football team, or they put them together for this game. Syracuse is playing Albany, PJ. I think they have to win by 3 touchdowns in order for this to be a true win. They need to trounce them. Tickets are as low as $5 to come to the Dome. What are your thoughts?
That's terrible, $5. Well, if your team was playing better and you had a better coach, it'd be different. But Syracuse should win it. Obviously, will win the game easily. I didn't realize that Albany had a football team either. So I know they play basketball real well.
Yeah, so we're both going with Syracuse, but Syracuse needs to, in my opinion, they have to win by 3 touchdowns in order for this to be a true win, because they just do. These are the teams that you're supposed to, as Rob Drummond, Rob Carpenter, and Duke Pettijohn called it last week, these are stat games. These are the games where you build your stats. So, and I'm not trying to disrespect Albany.
Cupcake games, Daniel, remember, they're cupcake games.
Yeah, cupcake games, but Syracuse isn't getting fat on cupcakes. Remember, they had an apparent cupcake in Middle Tennessee State that they paid $900,000 to come into the Dome. Not only did they pay them, but the cupcake ate them. So how about that? They paid $900,000 and couldn't even eat a cupcake. So,
how much is Albany getting for this game?
Enough. So, they're coming a couple hours away. So, how much does a cupcake cost? More than $900,000, I guess. So, what is your thought on Alabama, Florida? In Florida, in Gatortown in Gainesville.
Well, where my heart is going to be.
I know.
Both teams have extraordinary talent. Again, I don't want to belabor the point, but Emory Jones has to play better. If Emory Jones plays well, Florida wins the game. But Alabama is so stacked with so many 4- and 5-star players that they don't reload. They just keep playing every year. They keep playing. And this kid they got now for quarterback, I read about him when he was a sophomore in high school in California. I said, "Oh my God, this Nick Saban's drafted him already."
Yeah.
This kid's the real deal too. So Florida's defense is going to be up against it, but Emory Jones is the key. If he plays well, Florida has a chance, but you know where my heart is, so I got to go with Florida.
PJ going with his heart. I'm going with Fly Slamma Jamma Bama. So I got to go with Bama on this one. Can't go against Nick Saban. That man ruthless. But I'm gonna have to go with Alabama in this. No matter what happens, whatever's going on in the country, whoever the president is, if there's a pandemic, when gas prices are outrageous or they're low, Nick Saban is one of the only consistents in America and he consistently wins no matter what. I'm convinced if there was a zombie apocalypse, he would still be winning football games and protecting his players. I just feel that way. So, he does it. He finds a way. And I had to bring up that gas prices are over $3 because it pisses me off. So somebody needs to make that change. It's been over $3 in Central New York for a couple months now, and I genuinely don't care who you voted for. I just want you to lower the gas prices because I'm going to start riding a tricycle is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start riding a tricycle from my studio to the Dome. I don't care if it takes 3 hours to get there. I won't have to spend any gas money. PJ, NFL games. We're going to pick a couple of these. Obviously, we have to pick Denver at Jacksonville. What are your thoughts?
Well, again, Denver's defense is the key. Von Miller's played so well for so many years that he can sort of disrupt the game by themselves. And now he's looking into the guys that were rookie quarterback. And if I were Trevor Lawrence, I'd be following Von Miller all over the place. Wherever he is, throw the ball the other way. Jacksonville has the talent to do this, Daniel. They can win the game.
They have the talent to do it. They're at home, but that hasn't meant anything in the past. I understand that they have another head coach, but I'm picking the Broncos in this one. And Javonte Williams, I know very well. He ran all over Syracuse when he was in North Carolina last year. So I think there's a lot of weapons. I think Jacksonville, the way they played against Houston is affecting my pick this week. So I'm going to say, based on what I saw, I'm not pleased with the defense, and I think Denver can expose that. So I'm going to give it to Teddy Bridgewater and the Broncos reluctantly, but I will. One other game I'm going to pick here, PJ, and we're going to do it for Mary T because we love her. Monday Night Football, Detroit at Green Bay. Detroit was down by like 1,000 points to San Francisco at home. Then they end the game on a 23-3 run, and they only lose by 8 points, 41-33, in a game that was over at halftime. They made it interesting down the stretch. Does Detroit make this interesting? Because granted, I know on paper it's Detroit-Green Bay, and people are going, Detroit, ooh, Green Bay. But Green Bay almost laid a goose egg at TIAA Bank Field against Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints. Does Green Bay rebound, or does Detroit take advantage?
No, they rebound. They ran into a buzzsaw last year. Jimmy G passed for over 400 yards, I think, and he solidified his standing as the quarterback over there. I don't think there's any quarterback controversy with San Francisco, but Green Bay should not lose this game, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to dominate.
I'm going to go with the Packers as well in this matchup. PJ, Charley Loeb coming on here in just a moment, so I'll send it to you here for your baseball thoughts before we switch over to hour number 2.
Okay, there's not a lot happening. Everything's pretty status quo. Tampa remains leading their division. Chicago White Sox is leading their division. Houston is leading their division. The National League, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and the New York Mets are still fighting it out for their pennant. Milwaukee's up by 12 over St. Louis. Forget about it. San Francisco, LA, as I told you before, this is where the World Series is going to run through. Both teams have clinched a playoff berth. And the reason that is because they've won so many games. The other teams that I've mentioned, the ones that are leading their division by multiple games, will probably clinch this week. So San Francisco and LA are the class of both leagues. You got Kevin Kershaw, Scherzer, Buehler. I think they win the World Series. Here I'm telling you now, but there's plenty of things. San Francisco and LA are my first two teams. Tampa is third. Tampa plays their brand of ball. They're being led by Brandon Lowe, Randy Arizano, Joey Wendell. They're just a bunch of average guys that play well. I know I say that every week, and it's probably boring, but that's the way Tampa plays. Number 4 is Milwaukee. I'll tell you how confident Yelich is. He bought 10,000 free tickets for the St. Louis game. So everything's going okay for Milwaukee. Their pitching will determine whether they get to the World Series or not. Houston is leading their division, but they got a really tough series against the White Sox coming up, and that's going to determine if they stay ahead in their division. I got Toronto, who moved up 3 spots in this week. Vladimir Guerrero was a Triple Crown chase. He is very, very definitely can win the Triple Crown by batting average, home runs, and RBI. This kid at 21 or 22 years old is much better than his father, who was a real good player. The White Sox come next. They're playing average ball. They're going to win their division, so they got to prepare for the World Series or for the playoffs. Atlanta comes next. Adam Duvall is leading their team with 101 RBIs. Freddie Freeman continues to lead the team in every other category. Number 9, I got the New York Yankees. They're falling terribly. They're going to be scrambling to make a wild card. Two weeks ago they were up by 13 games. They won 13 games in a row. Then they came back and lost 5 out of 7. So they're terribly inconsistent, other than Garrett Cole. Number 10, I got Boston. Tough schedule to close out the season. But J.D. Martinez, Devers, Xander Bogaerts, Hunter Renfroe, Bobby Dahlbeck, all of these guys have got over 20 home runs. They're the Bash Brothers of this year, and they really should probably wind up taking the pennant, not at least the wild card, because Tampa looks like they're going to roll in okay. I'm excited for to watch the wild card chases. I just don't think that there's not going to be any surprises. So probably what I'm going to do next week is probably give you what I think are going to be the teams for the playoffs, and hopefully that'll materialize into something we can talk about. So that's all.
Yeah, and that coming from Papa Joe here as we get closer and closer to baseball and baseball postseason, I should say. Very excited about what's coming up. PJ, as always, I appreciate you. I look forward to talking with you soon, and I'm sure we'll be talking off the air. So in the meantime, stay blessed and have a great day, and I'm sending my love down there.
Thank you. Okay, Daniel. Bye.
Take care. That coming from Papa Joe. We'll take a quick step aside on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, and we'll be calling in to Mr. Charley Loeb to have him give his thoughts right after this fast break inside the Cafe Kubal Studios. Charley Loeb with a lot to say about Syracuse's quarterback situation, and I cannot wait to share this conversation with you right after this fast break, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So stay right here with us. We'll be back right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. I hope you're having yourselves a great morning this morning. If you're not, we're going to make it better. If you are, we're going to make it better. That's what it's about here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, bringing the positivity every single day. And very happy with all the guests we get to have on the show, all the beautiful people that have graced this stage. At this point, over 2,500 different voices here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora you've heard over the years, and I'm very, very grateful. And one of those voices that I'm very, very much honored to have is Mr. Charley Loeb. Now, I've covered Syracuse, watched Syracuse my whole life, and obviously covered this team for a great while. And Charley is one of those guys that I've had the opportunity to see live and to watch out there for the Syracuse Orange, and since then has moved on to quarterback country Atlanta. He's developing and training our future quarterbacks and keeping an eye on quarterbacks all across the world. And so, to me, we started something a couple of years ago where he comes on the show and we break down film and we talk about mechanics and different things. We get to do that again today, and we get to do it with Tommy DeVito and Garrett Shrader. And I'm so honored that we get to have his eyes on this, speaking of Charley Loeb, to break down the film and break down what he's seen, break down old film, as well as give us some knowledge that we may not know behind the scenes. And so it's always great to have Charley on the show, and at this time I think it's imperative a couple days in to have this conversation as Syracuse's offense is struggling. So it's time to talk about the whys, the hows, and where we can go from here. So let's bring in Mr. Loeb. Charley, how we doing?
Good. How you doing today, Dan?
I'm doing well, and you know, I got to tell you, Charley, like I said it before you came on, when you talk on the show, and I'm not saying this just because you're here with me today, I literally sit back in the studio and I listen like a student, and I'm like, oh, okay, I got to take that note, I got to look for that. I just really, really appreciate your knowledge of the game, your wisdom, and your ability to not only see something, but to express that point. I just want to thank you for that, because I really feel like when it comes to breaking down quarterback play and understanding different things, you're my go-to for that. So I wanted to say thank you.
I appreciate that, Dan. I really do.
So bring us up to speed here before we get into breaking down DeVito and Shrader. Bring us up to QB country Atlanta, what's going on, how life is, and just kind of what your day-to-day has been lately.
Yeah, so, for me, most of my quarterback training, the majority of it's going to happen out of season. So right now, being in season down here, high school, college, middle school guys even, my days are much lighter. So a little reprieve from being on the field. But, there's some other duties where you're you need to be able to do some things off field for quarterback development too. And I do quite a bit of game review with the guys. In fact, a lot of high school guys I watch the film with, much that they would do with their high school, but definitely in college, with their quarterbacks coach and looking at schematically, how are they operating and executing.
Well, visibly upset and totally understandable after you had your second catch of the game and they ended up calling it a fumble. Just what you saw in that play.
I'm not. I don't want to dwell on that, but that's definitely something that can't happen. Got to take care of that. Reduce turnovers.
And then you get down the field later on in the game and have a huge play that opens things up for 51 yards, and it sets up Sean Tucker. Just what you can say from that respect.
That's just how we got to go, man. Telling me we got man, it's time to go. That's just how we got to play. Anytime we got man, on either side, I'm usually thinking we getting bracket. So once we get that man look, it's time to roll. And that's what we did, but that's what we got to do. We got to make sure we stepping on them from the beginning.
DeVito and Shrader share time here. DeVito comes in first, then Shrader later on in the first half, and then back to DeVito. Is it hard to build chemistry or to kind of get into a rhythm when something like that happens?
No, it's not hard at all. It's just when it's time for me to make plays, or it's time for other guys on offense to make plays, we just got to make them, Both of them are really good quarterbacks, and they both give us all opportunities to make plays. We just got to make them happen.
Do you feel like Rutgers beat you, or do you feel like you beat yourselves more this year?
We beat ourselves by far. No doubt talking on Rutgers. They're a good football team. But we beat ourselves.
He did attempt one pass running to the sideline, and the pass that he threw and where he threw it, and at the time of the game that he threw it, I said he's going to get reamed, and Babers let him have it after the game. So he did have one completion, but I don't think that was supposed to be. DeVito played in this game, 29-9 win, ran a lot, only threw 17 times, was 11 of 17 for 92 yards. And he rushed for 7 yards a carry, I believe, at the end of this, 7 carries for 49 yards. What did you take away from DeVito?
Watching that game, the biggest thing that you're going to see is you had a great run game. You had an offense that was able to move the ball when you had a good box count, and even when you had some unfavorable box counts. They're giving 2 high look, you got to run the ball. They'd give some 1 high looks, and they're still doing a good job running the ball. And, I think DeVito did a pretty good job, and there were some quarterback design runs. There was some reads. There was also some, predetermined pulls where DeVito was going to take the ball, and he had a lead blocker kind of bypassing around with him. And that type of stuff I thought worked really well for them. The passing game still wasn't where you wanted it to be, winning one-on-one matchups. And I think, some of the stuff they were doing there is some of the things that you'd like to see them move along in the future with and do, because I think top to bottom, this quarterback play, while it's a huge issue, it's the offense in total. All the pieces are not, I don't know if either quarterback's going to be able to overcome the defects of the entire offense and how it's operating right now, in all honesty. So, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just looking at what they're putting out on tape, and you look at what the successful teams are doing, and you got to be able to, I think in their strategy, you got to be able to run the ball when you have good box counts, and then you got to be able to take advantage of one-on-one matchups on the outside, and that's not happening. And it's from receiver plays, from quarterback plays, from offensive line play. So, Ohio, they were able to move the ball, and the O-line was able to dominate the front seven a little bit, and but we didn't see any of that versus Rutgers, and I think schematically we were pretty boring and bland, and we paid for it. So,
yeah, and you just said, I don't know if either one of the quarterbacks, speaking here with Charley Loeb of QB Country Atlanta, former Syracuse quarterback, assessing and analyzing the play of Tommy DeVito, Garrett, Shrader in this offense. You said you don't know if either one of these quarterbacks can overcome the issues of the schematics of the offense itself. I want to go into that a little bit deeper. In a way, are they set up to fail? How I want to really break down what you just said, that you don't know if either quarterback can overcome what this offense is. Go into that a little bit more.
Yeah, and this offense, again, how it's its roots. It's not flawed. All right. It's not that this scheme doesn't work. It's, there's plenty of people that are running the principles of it. And if you break it down, I think the simplest form is you have formationally, they're very basic. They're very simple. Personnel-wise, they're very simple. They're not giving you a lot of different looks. They're maxing their splits out. They're spreading the receivers out really wide. They have a simple run game. They're going to try to jam the ball up. Win when they're supposed to win in the run game. They're taking what they can get. It's not built for this run game to be explosive and dynamic. You're going to run a couple schemes with a very bland, vanilla look in the backfield, and you're going to hope to stress the defense enough that they're going to have to add another guy in the box. Once they add another guy into the box, you're hoping that on the outsides you have guys that can win one-on-one matchups. And then what we're seeing is neither of those elements are operating successfully right now. We have good box count numbers for the run game. We're not being able to get, adequate yardage on the ground. We get the good one-on-one matchups on the outside, press or off, and I think DeVito and the receiving core, they're better at just taking little